Real quick, thanks for joining us on this episode. We know that as a healthcare professional, your time is precious, but so is sharing your vital health information with your community, and that's never been more important than today. That's where CapCut comes in. CapCut is the intuitive, all-in-one video editing app designed for speed. Forget the complicated software. With CapCut, you can trim patient education videos, add professional captions for accessibility, and incorporate clear voiceovers in minutes. Streamline your workflow by using our preferred editing software, the one that I use personally, and you can find that link in the podcast show notes.
I approach social media as a place that I want to show up as the person who happens to be like a friend who happens to be a dermatologist, right? So I try to show up like I'm your sister who happens to be a dermatologist, or your best friend who happens to be a dermatologist, or a mom in your mom group who happens to be a dermatologist. So I try to show up that way because I feel like sometimes it can be overwhelming to most people to receive the information. And that's always a barrier for our patients to receive the information, digest it. So if we can take down that barrier by being, I guess, more authentic or just like approachable.
Welcome back to the Med Creator 101 podcast, the go-to podcast for HCPs on all things social. I'm Mimi Banks, founder of MB Social, and I'm joined by my co-host, as always, board-certified dermatologist and dermfluencer, Dr. Dustin Portella.
Good to be back, Mimi. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, too. Today, we're talking about one of the biggest topics in beauty and wellness, consumer trust, and specifically how trust is built at scale in stores, online, and through the voices that people rely on every day. We're joined by two leaders shaping that trust, Michelle LeBlanc, Vice President of Merchandising for Beauty and Personal Care, and the Hispanic Strategy Team at CVS Health. She drives strategy across skincare, hair, fragrance, and personal care, and is behind the new store formats putting skin health front and center.
We're also joined by Dr. Camille Howard, a board-certified dermatologist and founder of Girl Plus Hair and Active Dermatology, and the first ever CVS Beauty Dermatologist Advisor, where she bridges retail, science, and digital education to help consumers navigate skincare confidently. Welcome, Dr. Howard and Michelle LeBlanc.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. Before we actually get into the meat of our discussion today, we'd like to ask you a few rapid-fire questions. Are you open?
Sure.
I'm down.
All right. Favorite CVS aisle?
This is going to be a surprise. I like the beauty, like the lipstick and lip gloss aisle. Like any foundation, lipstick, eyeliner, that's where I need to be.
And for me, it would be our minis aisle. So all the products that you can get in mini size, I can't get enough of those.
Dustin?
Ooh. I would say I spend most of my time in the skincare aisle, going in and either getting products or doing videos on the products. I do love the minis too, like for travel, like
Totally.
stock up before I jump on an airplane. So I have just the little things and makes it easy.
I would have to say same. This is one of my favorite ones. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning? Michelle?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that I am a mom of 3 young children. So my get ready time in the morning is quite therapeutic for me. So I would say it probably takes me a good hour to get ready. And about 20 minutes of that hour is actually spent on prepping my skin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Camille?
15 minutes. 15 minutes. I'm out that door.
Almost close to Tommy Martin. That was 5 minutes. Dustin, what were you again?
I'm usually 15 minutes. I've done it in 5 when I have to, but yeah, usually I can do it in 15 minutes.
Nice. Starbucks order. Camille?
Blonde rose, light and sweet.
Michelle?
Depends. If I'm being good, I'll get just a skinny vanilla latte. If I'm feeling a little like being bad, I will get the drink that's called a dirty chai.
Aha. Dustin?
Usually just black coffee, but if I'm going to splurge, it'll be a black Americano. I know, super exotic.
You know what? I'm just as exotic as you are. You know what, though? I'll take it with a twist. I add a Splenda or a Truvia.
Yeah, no sugar, no sweetener.
Guilty pleasure on TikTok.
I'll go. I like pet videos. You'd be surprised. I see no skincare videos.
Michelle?
I like watch the videos that show you like just a moment of a movie or a show. And then I go to Google and I Wikipedia whatever the movie is that they've shown you 5 minutes of. And then I just read the whole plot summary because I never have time to actually watch movies or TV shows. So that's how I stay up to date.
Usually for me, I get sucked into the cop videos where like woman is getting, arrested in like outside the mall or something, and she's trying to get out of it. And I will go back to their page and I'll watch like part 1, part 2, part 3. And I'm like, oh, she got in trouble or he got in trouble. It just, I don't know. I get sucked into those bad.
Wait, so I have a funny story with that because my sister-in-law also likes those videos. And then she saw someone she knew
Oh, no.
who was unhinged and had like run over like a mailbox, and it was still like in the back of her car. Like she was like, no, nothing's wrong. I haven't done anything. And then like it was like out of a movie. I have to find it and I'll
Oh,
send
that's
it to you.
hilarious.
But she literally saw someone she know and she was like unhinged.
Oh, that's funny. So, well, as we jump into it, Dr. Howard, it's nice to see you, and suspect that I'll probably see you at the upcoming AAD meeting in Denver.
Yeah, nice to see you again. That is correct.
But I want to get some understanding of how you got started on social media. Where did this journey begin for you to start sharing dermatology content publicly?
So kind of random. Funny fact, I worked in advertising before I went to medical school. So I worked here in New York for advertising company, and I was intrigued in medical school about how messaging was brought to our patients. In advertising, we spent countless hours distilling down messaging for print or for TV. And then when I went to medical school, it felt like it was really important for everybody to get messaging because that's an important part of patient care. But we spent so little time trying to put our words together in a way that our patients could understand. So I think that's my background. And then naturally, I'm always interested in different forms of media. And TikTok at the time, I think it was 2020, and we were all bored, but I was studying for my board exam. And so it would be a guilty pleasure, but I would feel guilty because I should have been studying. So I would study and then like talk about something I studied on TikTok. It was so random. So that's how this all derm and how it kind of like married together.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I did not know about your background in advertising and marketing, and I'm sure that's informed your medical career, not only from social media, but just talking to your patients in the clinic and helping them understand the plan before they walk out the door to improve compliance.
Absolutely.
What was your first video? Was it on TikTok or Instagram?
So my first video actually was on Instagram, but like my first derm video, I don't remember. Maybe it was on Instagram. Yeah, probably on Instagram because I always utilize Instagram for like girl and hair stuff. So I kind of understood that from a brand side. But as far as educating the public online, I would say that was more so a TikTok thing before like an Instagram thing.
And you have almost 200,000 followers on TikTok too.
I know, which is like nothing nowadays. But you know what? I always think of it as 200,000 people that I have some knowledge that I could give to them. When I learn, they learn.
And Dr. Howard, it's 1,999 more than I have. So
And I think this is something that Dustin and I talk about a lot is the power of education and why that's so important and really why a lot of dermatologists do start to be able to share that information. I love this story of sharing what you learned. It's kind of like what Tommy Martin was doing, Dustin.
Yeah, when he started in med school.
Also, a similar story. And then for you, Michelle, how did social media first become part of your world in merchandising and beauty?
I would say it's central to merchandising in two ways. I think first and foremost, we as a retailer and as merchants have to meet shoppers where they are. And today, where shoppers are seeking education, seeking information, it really is where they scroll, and it is through social media. And so it's really important that we're communicating and meeting our shoppers where they are seeking information. In parallel to that, as merchants, we're always looking to follow trends, find brands, understand what founders are talking about. It helps us stay relevant and curate the best assortment that will meet our shoppers' needs. So that's the two ways that I would say it's become part of our merchandising world.
Did you discover Camille on social? Is that how you decided to work together?
We did, yeah. So within CVS Health, having authenticity and authority in how we think about skin health with our shoppers is very important to us. as a retailer and candidly as a healthcare company. And so we wanted to make sure that we had an advisor to help us really navigate how we were thinking about educating our colleagues, thinking about product, thinking about misinformation, thinking about ingredient trends. And so with that, we then did our own research to see who was out there really talking about skin health in a way that was approachable and authentic, which for me, it defines Dr. Howard.
That's amazing. And so you found her on social.
Correct.
Amazing.
Very cool.
I'm always like, not me. I'm not doing that.
No, you. It's honestly like, it's like anything. And I'm sure you, Mimi and Dustin experience this as well, right? Like I connected. I didn't know Dr. Howard, but I connected with how she spoke and what she was speaking about. And that really formed the first initial reach out. And then obviously now we're partners.
Yeah, I love that. And we talk about that a lot on the podcast, is that when you're looking for a doctor in your local area, you may go to somebody and don't jive with them. You don't want to go back.
100%.
But you'll find somebody and you're like, I like this person. It makes sense. And I understand what's going on. And it's the same online. There is room for everybody's voice online. And the way that you jived with Dr. Howard, that her education made sense to you, there's space for anybody who wants to be active on social media to do the exact same thing. And the people that can learn from you are just waiting for you to get out there and start talking.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Howard, we kind of learned a little bit about how you got started with social media. What keeps you going back and showing up? And what does your content look like today? And do you have a mission behind that?
Yeah, I approach social media as a place that I want to show up as the person who happens to be like a friend who happens to be a dermatologist, right? So I try to show up like I'm your sister who happens to be a dermatologist, or your best friend who happens to be a dermatologist, or a mom in your mom group who happens to be a dermatologist. So I try to show up that way because I feel like sometimes it can be overwhelming to most people to receive the information. And that's always a barrier for our patients to receive the information, digest it. So if we can take down that barrier by being, I guess, more authentic or just like approachable, which is what you said, Michelle, and also it's cool that I get to meet amazing companies, amazing people like Michelle, like CVS. A big thing that I always think about like the kid who's in, I don't know, some urban area here, like in New York City, but not like the kid that's in necessarily like Manhattan, right? Like where I am right now, but maybe the kid that's on the outskirts in the Bronx and Far Rockaway, the kid that no one talks about, the kid in like the Midwest somewhere. And they don't really have access to us, Dustin, right? Like they may be struggling with acne or maybe a little nervous and they don't have access. And so I always think about that person who wants the help, but they don't have it. That's why I love CVS so much. Literally, there is a CVS everywhere. I think the number is like 85% of Americans have like a CVS within 10 miles of their home.
Right.
So, accessibility is huge. So it's just like a natural partnership.
It's really key for social media is we call it the avatar. Who are you speaking to? And I don't think I've ever heard anybody phrase it the way that you have, that I want to show up as your friend. Like we just happen to, be friends in real life, but I'm also a dermatologist. Sure, I'll help you out. And I love that approach because it breaks down those barriers. And as a content creator, we have a lot of ability to break down those barriers. And that's the way to show up authentically. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Though I don't want your picture of your rash at like 11:30.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Not that good of friends. Not that good of friends.
Yeah.
I didn't say best friends. I said friends. And Michelle, I also noticed when I was looking at CVS's feed that HCPs in general play a role. Pharmacists play a role. It's very important in like education. Can you share more about the role that HCPs play in that content strategy for CVS?
So I think something really special about CVS Health is that we're not just a retailer, that we are a company that is putting shoppers' health at the center of everything. And that is across our entire enterprise. And I think what that has done over the years is helped us make really, really bold decisions because we're putting patients' health at the center. I've had the privilege of working for CVS for 20 years, and I can still remember exactly where I was when we announced that we were exiting tobacco. I can remember where we were when we launched our Beauty Unaltered campaign, where our promise to shoppers was that in all of our beauty imagery, we would tell you when it was digitally altered. We have these moments where I think because we have healthcare practitioners within our portfolio, within our enterprise, that we just hold ourselves to, I think, a standard as a retailer that drives a lot of pride in sort of how we think about how we show up for our shoppers and our patients. And so again, even in this role within beauty and personal care, I'm really proud of the assortment that we curate. And to Dr. Howard's point, that we do understand the role that we play in driving accessibility. And that's not only through our assortment, but Mimi, just like you said, that's through the fact that we have a pharmacist in every one of those locations that are accessible to people who maybe can't get to a derm office or don't have accessibility. To go back to your question, it encompasses the whole way we think about how we touch our consumer and or patient in their journey across health.
That's really great to know. And I want to dive like a little bit deeper in that just from like a social perspective, because knowing that creators are so important and health is so important, how do you look at working with med creators, working with HCPs? Because I think that some of the people you include are employees, pharmacists that are there. What is, from where you sit, the role of HCPs and your social strategy?
Yeah, I mean, as wonderful as social media is, it's also pretty scary. And what I mean by that is Dr. Howard and the way that we use influencers or voices of credibility, it's to help our shoppers cut through misinformation and to provide guidance and clarity. And again, to go back to Dr. Howard, like in a way that's super approachable and digestible, that in turn can give our shoppers or patients confidence and help in making informed choices. And I think that's really important. Like at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our shoppers have confidence and that they're making informed choices.
As a final follow-up, if essentially there are providers, there are HCPs, there are pharmacist creators that want to work with CVS, that want to do partnerships, how is a good way for them to get on your radar?
It can happen organically. This is like a true story. Pre this role, and I've been in this role for a little over a year. I've been in retail for 20, just happened to never touch the beauty and personal care business. But like, I really wasn't on social media much. And now like every morning, my wife is like, honey, like put down the phone. And I'm like, no, honey, I'm doing research. This is for work. And like maybe like 50% of the time it's for work, but it really is instrumental to how I am following trends, understanding the shoppers, understanding what misinformation and or trends are out there. And so I can find influencers or professionals that, again, I have found on my own as I'm on social media, and I will make those connections or I will reach out directly. I am part of a board. Dustin, you're part of it too, which is the Retail Derm Alliance. And that has allowed me an incredible platform to talk to many derms from many different avenues that has helped me bring in and have those conversations. And then it's obviously my internal team making connections for us as well. So it really does come from a bunch of different places, Mimi.
Very cool. You talked a lot about misinformation, and I think that's one of the most important things that providers can do on social media is to help cut through that noise and help people understand, because it's really just, we're trying to empower them to make those choices. And Dr. Howard, I wanted to get a little bit into your content creation process and how do you decide what you're going to talk about, and whether it's breaking down misinformation, but what becomes a topic, what becomes a video, and what kind of space do you give yourself to create that idea?
It's chaotic sometimes, but I'm trying to get better at being more strategic. It's chaotic. I like reaction videos, but then because my life can be chaotic sometimes, I'll pin them and I'll forget about them and then it's too late. So I'm trying to be more strategic in the sense, like I think about a pie, I'm thinking about like, how can I be helpful to that person, right? With this person that we are thinking. So I always try to think about that person. So I try to think of like, what are the bread and butter of dermatology that's there's still confusion about? Sun protection, acne, eczema, dry skin. I try to like think about that. So that's like 60% of my pie. And then like maybe 20% of my pie is just Camille. like, I can't give you Dr. Howard every single day because sometimes I'm bored with Dr. Howard. I need to take off the scrubs and you just get like Camille. And then the other part of the pie is like the serious part. The part where I did my homework, I researched, I did the PubMed search, I know this material, and I'm able to like edit it. I write a script and I deliver it to you that way. So I try to like break it down that way. It's been useful, but I think I want to give more of Camille and more of the friend who happens to be a derm. I think that people like that more. I think I like that more. There's so many facets of us as doctors, right? Like we're here to give information, but I feel that it's important to your soul to feed the creative part of yourself. And that comes from, I guess, my marketing background. I'm always thinking about, okay, I can't do this. I have to be a little funny, a little sad sometimes. This is my life, you know?
Yeah, I think that that's part of why you can show up authentically is because you do those other moments like this is Camille, this is not Dr. Howard, and here I'm showing up as your friend. And I think that's important to take into it. And the more that you can lean into the parts that you really enjoy doing, the better things are going to go on social media. The more people you can connect to because you're showing up because you really want to be there, not because you feel an obligation to be there.
And you're showing yourself as wanting to be a friend, and people can sense that.
Do you like batch record? Do you just kind of record off the cuff whenever you have a moment?
So for the 20% that's really like I study this topic and I really want to deliver this message, I use like my Mondays to batch record. But I do find that it's hard because I don't want to change my clothes because I did my makeup. I don't know. So if you see 10 videos with the same outfit on, it's because I don't want to change my clothes. Okay. And then like the other 20%, it's just I saw something funny or I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed about something. Like I think I had a rant like yesterday about the L70 acne vulgari. So like 20% is either I'm really happy or I'm really annoyed and I'm commenting on that. And then the other is things that I know that I'm in my office right here and I talk about all day, but perhaps that I'm feeling that there's still some confusion about. And so because I know it, I don't have to be so strategic about recording. I can just talk about it because it's what I do here all day. It's kind of like my approach.
Very good. And from a kind of nuts and bolts perspective, are you filming just on an iPhone? Do you use a camera? How do you edit your videos? Do you have a help? Do you have teams?
No, it's all me. I film on an iPhone sometimes, or I get moments where I buy like a fancy camera and I'm like, this is it. It's going to be professional for the next 6 months. And then it has too many buttons. And I'm like, ooh, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And then I don't do it. So sometimes you'll see videos that they look really polished. That's my fancy camera that I use once every 6 months. But for the most part, I'm just using my iPhone because it's quick. I'm a New York City mom and it's something I can pull out and use at any time.
And my guess is that you don't necessarily see a huge difference between the really polished stuff and the stuff that's just raw and authentic.
I feel like the raw and authentic stuff does better.
Yeah.
I feel like people, they kind of like figure out, they're like, oh, wait, this is a little bit too polished. Like they get a little, I don't know what the psyche is, but I find that the stuff that's not so polished and kind of off the cuff, that tends to do better.
What would you say? What is your most viewed video?
Oh, my most viewed videos are like topics. I don't know. I did a video on like syphilis, but there was a case that I had that was really, really mild patchy alopecia. So I think it freaks everyone out because they're like, wait, is this? And I'm like, no. It's just a part of syphilis. So people like, they like medicine in the sense that, you know, it can be these little things that could be actually a really big thing. So yeah. And like videos that are really, don't use this, which I don't like because there's no best, but people really like this. Use this one, not this one. They like that kind of content.
And going back to Dustin's last question, what tools do you use? Do you use CapCut? What editing? Like what microphone? We love to find out how you do it.
I use CapCut all the time. I love lights that I could put in my tote bag. I take the subway here in New York City, so I like lights that I can like carry around. Like I have this one, I can stick in my bag. There are little ones that I have. I think the iPhone is great. I like small tripod things. Anything that I can carry, that's what I like.
So, I mean, I think a key learning here is like the authentic content from the authentic piece of advice with the authentic person is what works.
Yeah, whatever works for you. Like if a setup in your house, because you're that kind of person, you need to have like a designated place with the cameras ready and the lights ready. do it. Also, I feel like a piece of advice is I get frustrated easily. So if I don't have like my camera charged and my light charged, and then they become these little obstacles, then I'm like, I forget it. It's just not today. I can't do it. So, you know what I mean? So I feel like maybe be disciplined about like charging the things that enable you to show up as your authentic self throughout the day.
Yeah, it should be a low barrier to entry.
Totally correct. Yeah.
We heard a little bit from Michelle about how she found you. What was the experience on your end like of CVS reaching out and proposing this, really deeply integrated partnership?
Yeah. At first it's always, I'm telling you, people walk in this office and they're like, I found you on TikTok. I'm like, ooh, me? No, that was not me. I have that reaction, always. So I'm always like, oh, me? But I actually loved it because CVS is a place where I send my patients anyway, right? So once you leave this office, you typically have a patient education sheet where you can find products where I circle things. There's a CVS up the street by City Hall. I'm like, I want you to go there and like pick up this, this, and this. So I was already kind of sending people to CVS anyway. And I really love that the company is about marrying skin health and wellness. And what I feel from CVS Health is a true passion to helping their guests, their patients, if they're in the pharmacy. And I love that. That same authenticity that they saw in me, I see in the team as well.
And I've had the opportunity to work with CVS a little bit as well. I really came to appreciate that CVS Health is like its own division and has its own mission. And the pharmacy is one part of that, but it's not the only part of that. And so I can resonate with what you've shared about kind of that bigger picture with helping patients, consumers, guests with their entire health experience.
And Michelle, we talked about this a little bit, but what drew you to Dr. Howard? What does she embody, or what did her TikTok embody? Values that resonated enough to make her this first of its kind, a beauty dermatologist advisor?
So I think a lot of times when we are trying to communicate, and I don't just mean we like CVS Health, you could think of a retailer that you walked into that has education on their shelf. Even brand packaging can be incredibly overwhelming. And I think more than anything, when I started to watch Dr. Howard's TikToks, the way that she is able to break it down and talk about it in a very simplistic, approachable, attainable way is exactly what we try to do with how we show up for our shoppers. Because again, at CVS, our shoppers are usually in our store for 7 minutes. Like we're a mission-based retailer, meaning usually like Mimi, Dustin, like you're likely going into CVS with a list. Like you know what you need, you're going to park, you're going to get in, you're going to go to your aisle, you're going to get your product, you're going to get out. So educating once that shopper's in our stores is like not the name of the game for us. We want to make sure that we're educating far more upstream and in a way that's very simple and attainable and approachable, because that's what resonates with our shoppers. And so number one, it was just Dr. Howard's ability to like break it down. I think that drew me to her. And then number two is she does often talk about sort of community and accessibility. And again, that is central and core to what our strategy is and how our shoppers view us. I mean, I don't think people realize how important it is that our locations are within 10 miles of 85% of the US population. Like we are truly part of the community. And I felt that from Dr. Howard.
That's incredible. And what I think is really kind of cool here for Dustin and I talk about is it's really her social media that gave her the awareness. And it's not even necessarily a social media partnership. That social media bridged or social media opened up different opportunities that's way larger than a typical brand partnership would be.
Yeah, 100%. And like even something we did this year. So we have beauty advisors and, call it our top 600-ish stores. And our beauty consultants or our beauty advisors, like, sure, they're getting questions about, do you have this latest, greatest mascara? Can you help me find the right tone for my skin, for my foundation? But more and more, shoppers are coming in and they're asking skin questions. They're coming in, they've got acne, they've got something, and the beauty advisor, if needed, can connect that shopper to the pharmacist. We already talked about that, right? But we also spend a lot of time educating our beauty advisors. And now Dr. Howard, she's helping us actually like review that education, and it gives our beauty advisors confidence so that when they're interacting with the shopper, that they've got confidence in what they're advising, right? And I think like that's a way that this is so much more than just a social media partnership.
And I did want to get into that a little bit. Like, what is the role of a beauty dermatological advisor? And you gave us a little bit of a peek that one of the roles, Dr. Howard, that you're doing is educating those beauty consultants that are in the stores and helping them serve people better and broadening your reach that way. But what was that role developed to do, and the different buckets, Dr. Howard? What are you doing as a beauty dermatologist advisor for CVS?
So one of the things is just sharing the CVS health message, right? We talk about skin health, we talk about wellness. So that's one role. The second role is helping the beauty advisor. I mean, it's actually a pretty big role when you think about there's small amount of us and so many CVS health stores, right? And so many beauty advisors. Imagine how many people we're touching by debunking some myths, right? Or talking about something as simple as skin typing and how that may not necessarily be the case. Or Dustin, I'm sure in the office that you see that some people come in with their 10-step skincare routine because they saw that they should be using glycolic acid, lactic acid, mandelic acid, and retinol all at the same time. So I think it's an opportunity for me to bring some of what's in here in the office to thousands and thousands of people through the beauty advisor role. I always mention like, well, maybe we should think about this way instead of this way. And, skin typing really isn't this. You can think about this, and also learning about new things. When I read things, it's like hot off the press. And I'm like, oh, it's excited. Let me just, mention this one thing that, we read from our journals that may be coming down the pipeline. And I don't know, a year or so after we go to our AAD meeting. But having the opportunity to bring that information is just, words can't even really describe it.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother sphere of influence. We talk about social media influence and your follower counts and your likes and the vanity metrics, but you're having influence in another way, not only on social media, but boots on the ground, helping these people that are helping the consumers on a daily basis. And it's harder to kind of see what the feedback is on that, I would suspect. But you know that you're helping to shape the beauty conversation at a scale that we don't really do on social media. I just think that's amazing. And if I were in that role, I feel like it would feel like a lot of pressure.
It does feel like a lot of pressure sometimes, because you have to figure like, let me just go back and read this. Am I explaining
Yeah.
it properly?
Yeah.
I love this. This is a question for both of you. Feel free to take either one of you. But what advice would you give a med creator if they had a goal to have a collaboration like this with a retailer or a large brand?
I'm happy to start. I would ask, or I would think about it in terms of like, and I know we keep coming back to this word, but like, do you feel authentically connected to the retailer that's reaching out to you? Do you share or have strong alignment on your core values? And again, for me, that's a couple of things as I think about CVS, right? It's transparency. It's a genuine commitment to addressing misinformation. It's to curate an assortment that we feel really proud about. It's evidence-based guidance in how we think about things. And so it's accessibility, right? And so I think about that, and that is, again, what sort of drives me and drove me to Dr. Howard, or drove us, I should say, to Dr. Howard. And I would say the inverse holds true for the med creators, right? Like you've got to feel connected. You've got to feel an authenticity there. And you've got to feel like your values are marrying up. Because at the end of the day, like, as you think about social media and you think about influencers, you have to really be core to who you are. And I think people can sniff it out when you're not. To your point, Dustin, earlier, like, it's not surprising to me that the sort of more granular, like, sort of scrappy ones get more views, because I think people connect to that. And so it's no different than that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I also feel that like when we're creating content, first, I want to say that it's important for everyone to be online. I think it's important for medical students to be online, for residents to be online, for attendings to be online. I know sometimes we're raised I call it raise because residency is like raising a kid, right? Like you're raising a baby doctor into a big doctor. We're taught that this can be a bad thing. But remember, I come from the lens of the marketing lens, a whole separate, like different set of values coming into medicine. So the world is that. The world is messaging and media and how to communicate. That's what the world is. And I think when I was in medical school, it felt like that was wrong, like I was doing something wrong. Messaging is wrong. We know and we tell. So I think it's important that you drop that. Like you feel that you have to have that because that's kind of how we are built up to think. But I think it's important for all of us, medical students, residents, attendings, everyone, to drop that a little bit and be more human and to think about talking to our patients in that human voice, the voice that your significant other hears at home, the voice that your family members hear, the voice that your best friends hear, with a line of professionalism in that thread of professionalism should be there. I do agree to that because whether we like it or not, people still look up to us and look to us for help. But I think it's really important to think about our patients, but delivering that message in that human voice rather than that really paternal voice. I think all of the companies, like you said, people will resonate. Companies will see that. Your fans will see that. Like everyone will see that because we're all humans, right? We all kind of will feel that through social media. We will feel that.
I love that. Dustin always says he imagines he's speaking to his patients and he treats his social audience the same way he would treat his patients.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to get maybe from each of you this partnership that you have. What do you hope still to accomplish with it? What are the gaps that you're strategically working together and say, we need to close the gap on this when it comes to the consumer seeking health information? Something maybe the program isn't doing yet, but you want to be able to accomplish with it.
Two things come to mind for me. I would say first, it comes back to misinformation and being able to continually be the voice of credibility and making sure that we're collectively using our reach and our accessibility and our voices to strike down misinformation as it happens. And two, it is crazy to me that household penetration of sunscreen, it still hovers around 50%. Like, just think about that. And there's so much, we have come so far, I think, with the usability of sunscreen, meaning like making sure that it's really, that when the shopper is putting it on, that it's feeling well, that it's not leaving a white cast, right? Like, I feel like the brands have done a very good job at making a product that should be desirable for someone to use SPF daily, or if not daily, at least putting it on before they go outside and it's sunny. And so the work to be done there for me is how can we collectively as an industry, from derms to retailers to brands alike, really continue to push on SPF usage?
I agree. And I also think that when we say CVS Health, maybe to some people it's like, oof, CVS Health, right? Like, but when you think about what CVS Health delivers to the community, when you distill it down to a granular level, it's a place of support within the community. And I think that there's still so much more for us to do in really driving that message home, that it is a place of solace and support in the community. So I think if there's an opening, that's where we can go with that.
To really become like a pillar of health in the community. Yeah. I think those are all very worthy goals. And it's been an enlightening conversation to learn about your journey a little bit more, Dr. Howard and Michelle, and the work that you're doing in growing this within CVS Health and supporting the communities in novel ways. And just congratulations to both of you for the tremendous work that you've done so far.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the MedCreator 101 podcast with Dr. Camille Howard and Michelle LeBlanc of CVS. And we are grateful that you listened today. We hope that you've been able to learn a little bit about what it takes to partner with a major brand like CVS, how to show up authentically on social media in the way that Dr. Howard does as a friend who happens to be a dermatologist. If you've enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and leave us a 5-star review wherever you happen to listen to podcasts, and we'll catch you on the next episode.